Hey guys, I'm Pascal from Orangepixel. Sorry, posting something on Insta stories. I'm Pascal from Orangepixel, and today we're gonna talk about, well, the squad tactical type game I'm working on. What are you doing?
Trying out some tactical strategies.
Alright, just don't break anything and let me do the video, okay? Working on a tactical squad game, and we're trying out different ways to do tactical stuff. We try not to break stuff.
All clear.
Intro. It's Wednesday, and I forgot to record yesterday on Tuesday because I had a very productive day. So I did a lot of stuff for the new game, and I just didn't find time to record anything. So it's now Wednesday morning. Let me show you what I have done so far. So the first thing I did is have these soldiers of yours or your group actually shoot. So I'm not shooting right now, it's just my team is shooting the enemies. This is based on what's nearest to every enemy or every squad member. They will target that one, which is great, but not the main thing. We also had some new graphics for the street, the buildings and things like that. Thanks again to Dylan doing all the hard work on this one. And here we go into a building. The cool thing, the first thing I should show you is this. We can now breach 2 doors at once. So I'll leave them over here by just pressing one button, they'll split up. I'll command the second 2, and now we can both do a breach. So one press of a button will breach both doors, and we will find ourselves in a big firefight on 2 sides. Now the firefight and their movement, they should obviously be trying to find a good spot in the building, and they should be less static and maybe not shoot backwards. Still a lot of stuff that needs fixing, but this is pretty cool. So we can again do it here. Let's move him over there. And now we have these 2 guys available to breach that door and these 2 guys to go into that door, and there we go. Only one room had someone in them. They took care of it. Pretty cool. Regroup and move out. So I'm working on those tactics a little bit, and you can also see again a lot of new graphics here, and I now made the door more interesting when they break open. We have better wall structures and textures and a bunch of stuff happening. So let's split up, clear the room, and of course I want them to move as well, or at least take a certain position on the screen as you're taking out enemies. That's today's task, figure out what these guys can do and should be doing. Let's breach 2 doors again, and alright, not a lot happening here. So I've been working on that. I've also been working on a bunch of little changes to how everything is built up. And now we have these windows that you can shoot and break, and they're boarded shut. So there has been a lot of tiny and big changes, and progress is being made. Alright, so on Monday I first started with sketching out a plan for our squad. I mentioned last week that the squad core mechanics, having 4 characters that you can control, I need to make that work, or else that's pretty much the whole game idea gone, and we're just gonna do it with 1 soldier maybe and have an action game. John Wick-like action game, still an interesting concept, but for now I want to try out this squad-based tactical stuff. I sketched out a couple of situations, or try to come up with various situations that could really benefit from having 4 characters running around and maybe doing some of their own stuff without you controlling them. The first situation I wrote down is guarding hallways. If you enter a building, you should be able to position your other 1 or 2 or 3 guys even. You should be able to position them in the hallway so that they can cover your back pretty much. It's of course more interesting if we then have enemies spawning in those hallways, which is one of the things I should be adding today so that we can actually try this out. And that leaves some tactical decisions to the player. Do you breach a apartment building with every character, with all 4, or do you decide to maybe leave 2 in the hallway to cover your 6, or maybe 1, or maybe 3 because you're expecting a lot of people coming in from the hallway and it's just a small apartment, so there can't be many people inside. So decisions like that is what I'm aiming for. And the other one is double door breach. You just saw that's already in the game right now. You can position your characters in front of other doors and then breach one door and they will breach alongside you. Of course, right now I have just doors in various different apartments, but what if we have one room and there are 2 doors, 2 entryways? You can just move around and get those 2 over there, those 2 soldiers there by that door. Then you enter from this door and you get them in a crossfire. And a room full of bad guys, how do we handle that? Let's say you're breaching the door, all 4 characters. As soon as you breach the door, you split up. You will be controlling 2 of those characters, so you might be moving upwards in the room. Then the computer needs to somehow understand that he should be moving the other 2 characters down the room, or at least to some sort of cover and advantage point. And I have no idea yet how I'm gonna tackle that whole idea or whole problem. It's an interesting concept. It's gonna be my main topic for today. Trying to have these soldiers or your characters behave in an interesting way so that they are actually useful when you're breaching or attacking enemies. Right now they're pretty much static. If you leave them alone, they will stand there or sit there and guard the area. So guarding hallways will be easy, but we want them to move around. And that can be done in many ways, but I haven't figured out which way I'm gonna try and what the best way might be. Right now I'm thinking about as soon as you breach an apartment or a room, the computer is gonna calculate hotspots or maybe safe spots in that room. That's just gonna be a couple of like milliseconds of work just for that room area, and then we can maybe move your soldiers to those spots. I'm thinking that's gonna be the most interesting way to tackle this, and then we should update those safe zones every couple of frames. So that's today's task, Wednesday. All right. Let's do this. Let's see if we can make this work, or at least more interesting than it is right now. So a few hours later, and surprisingly, I have it semi-working that your squad members will now attack opponents by themselves, or at least sort of. So I'm controlling just this guy with the icon above his head, and everything else what these guys are doing is pretty much the computer taking care of them. So let's just breach in here. And there's a bunch of stuff that I don't like a lot of my day has been spent on this little square right there. There's no shadow there, and there should be shadow, but tiny things like this are terrible. There's no reason this should be difficult, but I just can't seem to find a solution. Anyway, let's move back to the cool stuff. We'll park 2 of my guys over here and we'll breach both doors, and you will notice that there's gonna be a lot of shooting. So, like I said, a lot of shooting. Let's help him out a little bit. The guys are now targeting the nearest opponents. It's far from perfect because this guy was pretty much useless sitting there all the time. So there needs to be a little extra code happening. But yeah, we got a bunch of things happening all at once right now, which is pretty cool. Let's park these guys over here. Then let's take control of these 2. And while we breach an empty toilet, they will be breaching a room with at least 1 or 2 bad guys. So let's see. Of course, there's no bad guy when we need one. Let's move over here. Another toilet. Let's put these guys all the way over. Let's take care of the TV. And let's put them over here. Let us breach the toilet, and they will breach hopefully a room with enemies. Here we go. And there was a bad guy. He was weirdly aiming at us to the wall. Like I said, a lot of bugs, but they took care of him. So we can now park us on this door here. And I added a second door to one room, so we can actually breach that room from two sides. And then we have a bunch of things happening. It's all not perfect, but stuff is happening, and I'm very happy with that, because most of this was just like 4 lines of code, and it handles most of it. So it's obvious that there are bugs and problems, but getting very close to it. So what happens right now is that your squad members will attack the nearest opponent, nearest enemy, nearest thing. It might eventually be bombs or creatures, dogs, I don't know, but the nearest danger will be attacked by them. It still needs a little bit of tweaking. It's mostly just your second in command, I guess, who is attacking all the creatures, and the other 2 are pretty much static. So they need to spread the love a little bit and move out to various enemies. Sometimes they do that, most of the times they don't. So there's a bunch of stuff that needs fixing, but it's a good start. Although I think I won't get away without some sort of pathfinding, because just now that one guy is sitting at the door, pretty much because he couldn't find a nearest enemy, which was around the corner. There's still some things that need to be fixed, but this is good progress. I've just been spending way too much on that little shadow thingy and problem and a bunch of other things that weren't happening correctly. But I'm very happy with today's progress. So let's hope I can continue that progress tomorrow, and maybe we can have these enemies move around as well, so that there's just more dynamics coming. And then another issue is already showing up. It's very hard to see and understand what that is happening on screen. There's just a lot of stuff going on. Bullet time, slow motion time, that might help. Breach the door, then a little slow motion highlighting the enemies. That could help, or something like that will need to be introduced, because this is chaos, and not in a good way, not in a fun way. But that's a lot of stuff that we'll figure out over time. First, let's make sure it's all fun to play, and then we can always improve and tweak on that. Alright, so it's now Friday, and I added a bunch of new graphics. We are now in a sewer instead of on a street view. Again, lots of credits to Dylan for a lot of pixel pushing on this game. It all looks pretty cool. Still some things to do, like there are eyes in the background. I want them to blink, and we have some parallax movement there, but it's already looking pretty great. Let's enter this building, and we now have squad members that will actually attack enemies and hunt them down, and it all works a lot better than it did. So let's breach, and let's enter this one, let them enter that one, and you can see both teams are now pretty much wiping out everything in both rooms. It doesn't feel like a big challenge because, well, the computer will do a lot of work for you, but that's just game design stuff. I'll need to figure out how to make this more interesting, and the challenge will probably be not so much based on shooting enemies, but more finding certain things and surviving longer missions. So that's all working. I have also been improving a bunch of building stuff, because all these corners and all these T-splits and cross thingies, they weren't working exactly as I wanted them, and I mostly came to that conclusion when I started creating another building. Let's see if we can find one. Right, so this is another little building I wanted to try just to make sure everything works correctly, and you'll see that there's a weird shadow spot right there. So it's still not perfect, but it's much better than what it was. We can now breach this one. Oh, we're breaching that one, and we have a storage room with a bunch of guys in there. Let's wipe them all out and move back over here, regroup, and breach this door. So I'm very happy with how these guys are now seem to be functioning on themselves and attacking enemies and all that code. It was still a lot easier than I thought it would be, but I'm also pretty sure there's a huge amount of things that I still need to fix. and improve on, because they're pretty much very stupid. They will try to move towards the nearest enemy within that certain room. So if I leave them outside the door, it's a different room, so they won't really attack the guys in that room. So when they breach, they should already be moving into that room so that they know where to go. So still a huge amount of things to tinker with and improve and change, but it's starting to look like a playable game, and I'm really happy with that state it is in now. For a prototype, it's pretty cool. Alright, it's Saturday now, and I just wrapped up work on the intro for this video. So the one you saw at the beginning, doing all that stuff with, well, all that stuff. It took me a little bit more time than I thought it would. The recording was pretty much quickly done, not that hard, but then editing, I wanted all these special effects and things. I just enjoy doing these things way too much, and it's what I usually do on my Saturdays. The fun stuff for these weekly videos, or also wrapping up the editing of these videos. So the rest of the day I'm not gonna do a lot of work on the game, but I did manage to screw up the prototype yesterday. I actually wanted to completely redo how the player controls the squad members. I had too many different entities going on, technical stuff, but I wanted to rewrite all of that, which means right now you can't control any of the squad members. So that's probably something I'm gonna try and fix today, because I don't want to start back on Tuesday starting work and then having to immediately fix a bug. So I just want to make sure the game is up and running for Tuesday, so that on Tuesday we can do the fun stuff. Because the plan for the prototype right now is I'm pretty sure this is going to turn into a game, so I should probably start thinking about a good name for it. But I should also start to figure out interesting settings and scenery and missions and the whole structure for the gameplay. It's great to have these mechanics up and running, this squad, and you control it and they will breach and do those things, but we need to make it interesting. So that's pretty much some of the stuff that I'll need to figure out next week. I'll also need to figure out the enemies. They're now pretty static and just aiming at you. They should be moving around maybe a little bit, and I should just start organizing all of those things and figure out the list of features we want for this game. I guess it's gonna be a game. It won't stay a prototype for much longer. It will be a game. And if you're a patron, check out the latest patron post. I did one on Friday, and you can now play the current build, and I'll try to push an update every week. That's kind of one of the rewards you get as a patron. You get to tinker with this prototype, and I'm not looking for bug feedback or whatever. Just download it, enjoy it, and take it for what it is. It will change, it will evolve. It's far from perfect. There's a bunch of stuff that won't work. There's a bunch of stuff that should work differently. But this is just how games are developed. You start with something very raw and very unfinished, and then months later you have something that's playable and fun, hopefully. But that's it for this week's video. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And see you next week. Bye.